First there was the McLaren F1, the GOAT, the OG hypercar. Then came the legend that is the P1, arguably the most exciting of the Holy Trinity. And now we have the W1. What's the story here then?
Yes, it's the successor to the F1 and P1. The basics are as follows: 399 will be built, each 2 million including taxes, but minus whatever personalisation you get MSO to do. It's a 1258 horsepower hybrid that's faster round a track than a Senna, faster in a straight line than the Speedtail, has almost exactly twice the horsepower of the F1, and like the P1, has a race mode that drops the ride height and extends the rear wing.
And handily, it's turned up at almost exactly the same time as the Ferrari F80. Reckon there's been some phone calls between Maranello and Woking based on the fact that McLaren's CEO used to work there? Maybe. Anyway, it is a very complicated car, so we are going to go through it section by section, starting with, how it looks, because it's not beautiful, is it? The P1 was all sinuous curves and starts. This is a bit more disjointed. It's like it's been designed in sections. The design doesn't particularly shout McLaren to me either, and nor does it shout 2 million quid's worth.
But it's hardly like Ferrari's new F80 is a looker either. Yet last time round, both the LaFerrari and P1 were gorgeous. You could blame aero, but the Valkyrie is a sensational looking thing, albeit more radical and compromised than either of these.
So here's the thing, you need to see it in person, because when I first saw pictures of it, I just thought all the surfaces looked flat, but now you're starting to get a sense of the shape. This is a much softer curve than I thought. It's more akin to the P1. And I don't get these McLaren headlight shapes yet, but I suspect it will come when they do future models. This is probably, the W1 is probably going to lead for other cars to follow. I like the little portholes here where you can see the inboard push rods in there. And then you get to the proper head scratchy bit, because look at all of this stuff going on through here. Obviously air is meant to come in through here and then get channeled in various ways. There's a weird aero profile bit which is obviously designed to channel the air down and back past these really quite voluptuous sides. It's much more shapely when you stand up close than you think it is from further away. But the complexity of what's going on down the side of this car before you get to this bit. Now, McLaren say this is based on this year's Formula One car shape. To me, that is the bit that says Senna more than anything else. And in pictures, I had never even noticed this separate, it's like UFO hovering over the roof. Doubtless it does some very clever stuff with the air, channeling it down over this quite big slab of back deck. Like the Ferrari, there is no rear visibility and just sort of a bit of a glimpse down into the engine. What do we think of the name though? W1 stands for winning, and I suppose Lando is at the moment, so that's all right. But it's not the most emotive. It doesn't resonate like P1 and F1 did. But then you look through the alphabet and you think, oh, actually they must have really struggled, because M1 is a BMW name, S1 is Audi, A1 is an Audi and also a piece of paper, R1 is Yamaha. They didn't really have many options open to them.
In case you're wondering, McLaren also trademarked U1 and H1. Maybe we'll see one of them appear in another decade. In the meantime, let's discuss the... Hidden underneath the carbon body panels is a brand new monocoque called the Aerocell. Essentially, this is the core of all the W1's aerodynamics. By raising the occupant's legs 80mm, McLaren can use the underbody to do more with the airflow. It also incorporates a fixed seat, the lightest solution possible, and with no seat runners, that means the Aerocell is more compact, shortening the wheelbase. It's only a fraction longer than the P1's.
Is the W1 really that much of a step forward? The old P1 could do 6 miles of electric-only driving. The W1 just 1.6 miles, and it still uses a 4-litre twin-turbo V8 and twin-clutch gearbox. It doesn't really seem to be moving the game on.
But wait, the V8 is brand new from the ground up, as is the gearbox, which now has 8 speeds rather than 7 and no reverse. That's done by the electric motor, which itself delivers 342 horsepower, while the V8 contributes another 915, bringing the total to 1258, 75 horsepower more than the Ferrari. And yet the Ferrari is faster. It claims 2.15 seconds to 62 against 2.7 for the W1.
That's because the Ferrari is four-wheel drive, fast off the line, while the McLaren is rear-wheel drive, lighter. It's 125 kg less than the F80, which means once up and running, it's just as fast. It might be slower to 62, but by 125, it is level pegging. Both hit that in 5.8 seconds.
Ferrari makes no claims above that, but the McLaren goes on to hit 186 miles an hour in under 12.7 seconds. It revs to 9,200, the highest revving McLaren ever, and has a dry weight of 1,399 kilos. With fluids, that'll be around 1,530 kilos, and still gives the W1 an 822 bhp per tonne power to weight ratio. You will need a yes-go attack to go much faster. It is a hybrid, but it's for power, not range. The 1.4 kilowatt-hour battery is a small tube tucked into the bottom of the chassis, recharged only via spare engine power. The motor sits not on the main drive shaft, but drives through the shaft on the even gears of the gearbox. It's compact, light, and has nothing in common with the Artura. The entire system, battery, motor and all ancillaries, weighs 100 kilos, yet as we said earlier, it develops over 340 horsepower. Right, you get the picture, it's a complicated car, so let's get someone in for a deep dive. This is Deputy Chief Technology Officer Chris Harrison.
We've inclined the engine 2 degrees, which allows us to start the diffuser pretty much in line with where we're standing now.
Yeah.
And that allows us to accelerate the air underneath the car so that the air actually leaves at the rear of the car twice the speed of when it enters at the front.
So it enters there at like 100 miles an hour and exits at 200 miles an hour?
Twice the velocity.
Really? And that's just from using it because you've got a very effective diffuser that pulls the air through?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then as we build out from that, you can see that the functional forms from around the car are fundamentally there to allow us to maximise and extract the most from the ground effect. We need to manage the air for multiple reasons down the side of the car. One of them, as you said, is fundamentally for the ground effect, is to provide the sealing down the underside of the car, where we have to evacuate the air from that high pressure wheel well. And we effectively create 2 vortices one down each side of the car that allow us to seal the underbody.
So I didn't realise this is what a vortices does. So you actually want those little spirals of air running down the side because that creates a boundary level layer for the air to stay inside of.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
absolutely.
Right. So you use those instead of having little barge boards underneath the car.
Yes.
To aim it, you engineer these vortices to glue the air into place.
Yeah.
And then further forward, there's a little aero flap there. Why have you got an aero flap there? Because obviously you're evacuating hot air from there, but you've also got a flap built into it.
Yeah, as we said, it's also helping us managing air up and over the car. But then also this hatch is where we have service access, and this is where you'd access the AC charger for charging.
Oh, really?
Charging
so because you can keep it, I suppose, on trickle. You want it on trickle charge.
Yeah.
And that's also that's the charge port for the battery, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, for charging the
tiny
battery.
Little battery. Not adding much weight, is it? 1.4 kilowatt hours.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
So again, we optimize everything for weight.
Yeah.
So it gives us the performance that we need.
Yeah. So did you look at using supercapacitors or anything instead of just a small battery pack?
No, we were very clear about working forward on our hybrid lineage. So building on technology we've already deployed, from the P1 and the Speedtail.
Yeah.
And this is a huge step change on. For instance, it's 40% lighter than the hybrid system that we had in the P1.
Yeah, and that battery pack, so all you've got to do is get charged back into it very fast and out of it very fast because you're driving about 340 horsepower. electric motor from a tiny little battery pack.
Yes.
So you're sort of blowing all the power out in one good acceleration run, and then you need to use the engine to recharge it, I guess, because you haven't got regen braking, have you?
Yeah, so we do all the regeneration via the overspeed on the motor.
Right, I've opened the door up because I wanted to show you just how cutaway it is around that aerocell tub. And also, if you start looking down there too close, you'll realise this is a show car. It's not a finished car. This car doesn't go on sale for another 18 months or so at least. But look, we've got the suspension components here. This is the lower wishbone, and Chris has got the upright there. Very clearly 3D printed. You're not machining these, are you?
No, absolutely. And you can see fully the beautiful forms that we're able to take. The opportunities that we can exploit by using 3D printing is we can create a homogeneous form that enables us to incorporate not just the loads that these components need to see, but also the aerodynamic form as well.
Yeah. This element up here, in none of the pictures that I noticed this sort of little bat wing job on top. What's it? I'm assuming it's gluing the air to the back deck.
Yeah, so we call this the flow diverter, and effectively its role is, as you say, is it ensures that we get the air glued to the back of the car to allow the active long tail to function. So we need to feed the active long tail with clean air.
Yeah.
This also helps channel air. If you can imagine, the car is sideways, and we've got air acting sideways. This allows us then to channel the air down further onto the spoiler.
Right. Why is it not carbon? Because you can see carbon surfaces here, but not there.
So we actually integrate the antenna within this. For transmission purposes.
You can't have it in carbon?
Can't have it in carbon.
Oh, I see. Okay. Wow. And then you've got an awful lot of stuff going on. We should get the rear wing active, shouldn't we? So there's 4 motors, isn't there, that run?
Yeah, so they're driven by electric motors, which is a first. So previous McLarens have been hydraulically operated. And you'll see as the wing extends rearwards into race mode, the wing in itself can extend.
So that's road mode
this is road mode.
And
then we can deploy the wing 300mm rearwards for race mode.
Which isn't road legal, just like P1.
Correct.
As soon as you've sent the wing out the back.
Yeah, correct. Isn't road legal. And then we have up to 29.5 degrees of adjustment in the angle of attack of the wing.
Because at the moment, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, I don't understand aero at the best of times, but you look at that wing and you go, well, hang on, that looks like it should be giving you lift rather than downforce. Why is it not up at an angle?
So if you think about the ground effects concept, so we're using the underbody of the car to generate the downforce. Mm-hmm. What the wing is actually doing by extending rearwards is effectively increasing the length of the diffuser, so the overall active area of the diffuser.
So the angle of that diffuser coming up sort of meets the back of the spoiler, and so you've just got a virtual diffuser out the back. So in the purest possible terms, it's a long tail. And
absolutely.
And there's a weird thing here as well. I've noticed there's like a cutout through the arm of the upright there. What's going on there?
Yeah, so that's basically when we're cornering. If we get any pressure build-up on the inside of the wing, this effectively allows us to relieve that pressure and also make sure that we keep the wing functioning as we need to.
Oh, really? And so 1399 kilos. And these are the aluminium wheels, aren't you? But you've got a magnesium wheel option, haven't you?
Yes, we have a magnesium wheel option, which saves 6 kilos.
6 kilos around the car?
Yeah.
Okay, so that gets you down to your magic 1399 figure.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know what it's going to? You're not going to claim a wet. You're not going to tell me a wet weight yet, are you?
Not today.
No,
Ollie.
Yeah. Since we've got the door open, let's go and have a look around the cabin. But before we even get to that, just look at how crazy the shape of this door is. Look at all the aero elements here and all these bits and pieces to it. And then, of course, we've got the fact that it's a gull-wing door now. McLaren likes to call it its anhydral door. But the main reason they've done that isn't because it looks cool, although it does, but it means they haven't had to package all the struts and hinges in this area, which would have upset all the aero work they're trying to do, getting air out from the front wheel arch. It's quite cool. Anyway, come around this side, and McLaren realised out quite early on that they wouldn't be able to package a boot in the nose, and their luggage was going to have to go somewhere else. So it goes on the back deck, but look, You can flip the headrests down and that's where your luggage goes. Room for a couple of helmets or a weekend away. Right, you pop round the other side, I'm going to jump in. Right, so here we are then, driver's seat of the W1. First things first, it's amazingly carved out, this door. You've got a real sense of space, and I love this sort of grab-handly bit you've got here. That's great. Driving position, it's not as extreme as I expected. I know they've raised the foot position, but honestly, it feels like they could have raised it a bit more. It's not super extreme, but the view out is really good. These A-pillars are narrow. You can see the tops of both wheels, and you've got a good down angle on the road over the top of this beautiful, so slim, this little steering wheel. I know it's flattened at top and bottom, but it's lovely. Also, the aerodynamicists have been loose in here. You see this area up here? So this is a vent to get air into your face. There's a couple more here, but they've used aero surfacing to get the air over the top of the binnacle and into your face. That's all digital, by the way. That's a big digital screen there. All of these are now made of aluminium, and they've got all the little knurling on them. And it's the same down here where you've got this sort of screen edge around here, and the cup holders which slide in and out. So you've actually got a reasonable amount of storage down here, and your USB slots and everything else. Look, how to tell this car is a model though, look. Yeah, the steering's not actually connected to anything. It does have the important buttons on it though for boost, which will give you your 342 horsepower of electric instantly, and your aero button for the DRS mode. Other interesting things, the seats are completely fixed, so they don't move. The pedals move on their little slider, and the steering moves. And this material, it's called InnoKnit, okay? You can have your regular Alcantaras and leathers if you want, but this is actually a woven material that is quite clever. They can lay it over the top of the speakers like they have here, and the ambient lighting, so it glows from behind. It's just one of those sort of little sustainable, innovative little touches they've got. And then you look up on the ceiling. Obviously, you've got the Gorilla Glass lighting through here to get a bit more light into the cabin. You've got I think they're claiming the world's thinnest sun visors, just 3mm thick, these. And the all-important pad of buttons up there to start and stop the car, and the gear changes and drop it into race mode. Yeah, race mode. That's what you want to be in this, isn't it?
Race mode drops the car 37mm at the front and 17 at the rear. 4 electric motors drive the rear wing, sending it back 300mm for a virtual long-tail effect. In that mode, it develops 350 kilos of downforce at the front and 650 at the rear.
Let's sum up what we know so far. Ferrari has taken a risk with the F80, four-wheel drive, V6, electric motors, Le Mans vibe. McLaren, however, has stuck close to the P1's template. The focus is still on driver engagement and purity, just with a massive power hike. 1250 horsepower through the rear wheels. What we can say at the moment is this is probably going to be wilder to drive than it is to look at.